What's up guys? In this video, I'm gonna go over my experience with LASIK eye surgery a couple weeks ago. This is definitely not the typical Airbnb investing video, but hopefully it'll help support the traveling Airbnb nomads out there or anyone that's just considering getting LASIK. Before we get into anything, I'll preface the entire video by saying there is nothing squeamish or graphic in this video. You can find all that stuff on YouTube, but it freaked me out looking at someone's eye, getting whatever done to it, and we're not gonna talk about that here. We're just gonna be talking about my experience and what I would recommend for anyone considering it. For anyone new here, my name is Jonathan Farber. We usually talk about financial freedom, real estate, Airbnb, creating passive income, but this is definitely a different episode today. So I'm making this mainly because a few people asked me about what my experience was, and also I didn't see a lot of good content out there on people going deep dive into their experience, so figured why not. I also posted a couple videos about it on social media, and it did look great, and I did have a couple things going on with it after, but nothing too crazy. But after that, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of color on what was going on and actually explain that I am okay. This video is going to be broken down into 4 parts, and the last part is going to be the cost and if I would recommend it for someone else. The first part is the problem I was trying to solve and why I wanted to get LASIK. Like most people, I needed glasses, and actually just doing some research for this video, apparently 75% of people need glasses or contacts, meaning if you have 20/20 vision, you're actually really lucky. So it's not for you if you're one of those people. For those that do wear glasses, my prescription was about -450. And while I always wore contacts, which made me forget I had bad vision a lot of times, I still couldn't do anything without my glasses or contacts. And anytime I traveled, I always had to make sure I was bringing my contacts, which just started getting really annoying. This was actually the main reason I wanted to get this done. With traveling more the last few years, I hated depending on needing to bring glasses or contacts everywhere and just didn't like the feeling of being somewhere and knowing if I lost them, I'd be screwed. And as I was planning the rest of the year, I realized that I was gonna potentially be out of the country for 3 to 4 months. And since I wore daily contacts, that was a lot of contacts to think about bringing with me. So that's when I started to really think about it more and decided if I could do it, it was something I wanted to do. All right, the research phase and the procedure itself. I think I actually first started the research phase by making a poll on Instagram or Facebook, asking people if they'd done it or if they had any recommendations. Actually, a great reminder, if you are looking for recommendations, this was an easy way to get the ball rolling just by using my network or social media, and I think anyone can do that. So that was the start. And then since getting back from Colombia, I actually joked around a lot that I could get any medical procedure I wanted there for like half the price, which is actually true, and the quality may be just as good, but I'll explain in a sec why I did not want to do that for this. So even though I did have friends in Colombia who had LASIK done here, and it was cheap, it was around $1,000 compared to the US, which is typically $5,000 to $6,000, I still didn't want to do that. First, anything I felt like I was doing for my eyes, I just wanted the best possible care. Also, my dad, who's in the eye business, he's an optician and owns some eyeglass stores, had 2 detached retinas earlier this year, and it was pretty serious. So my eyes weren't something I wanted to take any chances with, and he definitely recommended the same. The other reason was, while I genuinely felt like the care could probably be close to as good or better in another country, there's always a chance of a complication. And I was thinking, what if I needed to get a touch-up, or the complication led to more appointments being needed, and also not speaking the language? I just felt like all those things would be really difficult, and I didn't want to risk it, especially with something like my eyes. So I started out by reaching out to a few friends in New York that had done it, and also spoke to my dad, like I mentioned, who's in the eye business, and kind of got a lay of the land of who to maybe talk to. And after some research, there were a few doctors that kept coming up and seemed to have the best reputations with really good reviews. The name I kept hearing about multiple times was a guy named Donnenfeld. People sort of referred to him as like the OG of LASIK, like the Tom Brady of LASIK. And it was really funny to hear people talk about it. Like they got so hyped up talking about him and like how great a job he does with people's eyes. So between the research, talking to people, and then seeing the reviews, he was the guy I chose to go with. When you get started, the first step is scheduling a consultation. You go in, it's completely free. They measure your eyes, run a few tests, and then they tell you if you're able to do it. And at first, I actually thought it was gonna be one of those things where they just bring you in to make you want it more. But I did speak to a few people who actually got tested and scanned, and they weren't a fit for the procedure. So it's actually worth scheduling a consultation if you're considering it. After the consultation, you do need a couple other scans or appointments to go in, that they make sure that what they're doing is a good fit, or they measure the curve of your eye and see if you have an astigmatism. Nothing too crazy. Again, you're in there for like 5 minutes on those appointments and you're just sitting, they look at light in your eye and tell you you're good to go or not. This is also where I got to spend time with the doctor again and talk to him. Really cool guy, had a great bedside manner. And on that note, one thing I really liked about the setup is that they do everything they can to make you feel comfortable. Like the first thing the doctor says when he sees you is that he's done over 100,000 of these, and 99.5% of the time people leave with 20/20 vision, and the other 0.5 leave with better than 20/20 vision. I thought he was gonna say the other 0.5 leave with problems, but it wasn't that. Also, the doctors and nurses are really cool and explain that you can't go blind from this procedure, which I sort of didn't believe. But then again, I didn't know exactly what they were doing, but I had figured there was some chance. But she was right. According to the American Refractive Surgery Council, which we'll post, no one was ever blinded from this surgery or completely blinded from this surgery. I guess we were ready and we just scheduled the appointment to do it. One thing I wish I would have known before the procedure is that you can't wear contacts within 3 days of the procedure. If I knew that, I would have been able to get the procedure without having to wait a week for the next appointment. That part wasn't great, honestly, because I don't like wearing glasses. For whatever reason, they make me dizzy. And it also gave me a little more time to think about everything, and just didn't need it. And another tip, I don't recommend telling too many people before the procedure you're getting it, because some people just make very bizarre comments and you just don't need to hear any of that. Anyway, let's talk about the actual procedure and what it was like. So for the actual procedure itself, you show up the day of the procedure. They give you a little bit of like a welcome kit telling you what to wear, what to expect. They also told me that they'd give me a Valium to make sure I was more comfortable. They mentioned that the room is very cold, so you should bring warm clothing. And they also said that I was gonna be there for a couple hours potentially, so they told the person that was gonna pick me up, which was my dad in this case, to come in a couple hours. I didn't really understand that part because everyone was telling me that the procedure was really quick. So that was just kind of a strange thing. After I was feeling good, waiting in the chair, they just call you and say it's time to bring you into the laser room. They walk into the room, it's actually freezing, and the laser itself is massive. It basically takes up the entire room. I guess technically there are 2 lasers because there's 2 portions of the procedure. They tell you the first part is about 28 seconds, 14 and 14 in each eye, and the second part is about 30 seconds. So they tell you this before, they're kind of talking to you. They start by putting a few numbing drops in your eyes to numb them, and then they just tell you where to put your head and they do the lasering. But before that, they really just make sure you feel good and have everything, explain that you're not gonna feel everything or you're not gonna have any pain. So just put your mind at ease. It does feel a little weird, I'm not gonna lie, but again, there's no pain. It just feels like you're looking into a light with your eye held open, and you do feel a little bit of pressure. So they count to 14 seconds in each eye, and then they tell you you're done. And after the first part, they walk you over to the second part, which is another machine like 10 feet away. And again, what's crazy is you're awake the whole time and you can actually see. It's blurry and the room is really dark, but like you can see. Like I just want to stress that again, you're awake and you can see. The weird part is though that like since you're actually awake, the doctors and nurses are talking to you as it's actually happening. Like they were trying to just, I guess, make me feel comfortable, and they were talking about like golf and traveling and whatever as this thing was happening. So that itself was pretty funny. So the first part happens, then the second part happens. The second part is where I guess they're actually like doing the lasering of your eye. The first part is kind of just like making your eye ready for it. And then they're just telling you like, we'll be good to go in maybe another minute or so. So after the, let's say total 2 to 3 minutes in the room, you stand up, you're walked back to the review room. At this point, I wasn't feeling any pain. The doctor just takes you through a few tests and looks into your eye with a light. He told me that everything looked good and that I should be set to leave in a few minutes. I haven't told anyone this, but at first I thought my eye felt a little weird and I was like worried that maybe I moved my head or something, but he told me everything looked good and like nothing could have happened, like whatever I was thinking happened, but it was all good. Part 3, post-procedure, the pros, the cons, and what I recommended. So just to be clear, when you walk out of the procedure room, you can immediately see 90% better than when you walked in. It's actually a really weird feeling, like honestly magic. So after you're in that room, the doctor looks at you, tells you you're good to go, and then sort of just gives you instructions with like a little goodie bag that has goggles in it and sunglasses. They do recommend to wear the sunglasses anytime you're outside for the next week, and you're supposed to sleep with the goggles on for the first 4 nights after the procedure. A couple other things to note. They said the first night, maybe you don't take a shower. If you do take a shower, just make sure that no water is going through your eyes or running in your eyes. But other than that, they recommended to just lay down for a couple hours after the procedure. No heavy lifting. I think you couldn't do any exercise or lifting for like a week, but I wasn't worried about that at the time. So yeah, just they'd send you home, your driver comes and gets you, you have the goggles on. It feels weird, you can see there's a glare, but again, you're not in any pain. So like just digging into pain or discomfort, you will feel from the procedure. What they said is that you should only really feel pain or discomfort for like 2 to 5 hours after the procedure. They said to just expect some dryness and a little watering or discomfort, almost like you have something in your eye, like that scratchy feeling, which definitely wasn't that bad, but it definitely did happen. So they recommend just lay down, keep your eyes shut, and try to get through those couple hours without, like having too many problems and moving around too much. But again, they're not giving you anything for the pain, just Tylenol. And after the numbing drops wear off, you definitely will feel it. But I will stress it again, like it wasn't intense pain. It just kind of felt uncomfortable and my eyes were tearing, and it felt better to keep my eyes shut than have them open. I will say that. But they said by around 9:30 that night, any pain should be gone. And it pretty much was. At 9:30 that night, I could see, I wasn't in any pain, and I was kind of just walking around my house like amazed that I could see again, or see for the first time. As for other stuff like driving, you can't drive yourself home. You do need to be picked up, but you will be driving the next day, and you'll likely have to, as there's a post-op appointment, usually one day later, and you're expected to drive to that appointment. As far as any other driving goes, at night, it's a little weird just because there is a glare. I guess that's just an effect of the procedure, but during the day, it just continually gets better. Like you still have a little bit of glare the next day, and just every day it gets a little better. One thing I forgot to mention, but I'm sure you're all wondering, what is the cost, or what was the cost? The procedure typically costs $5,500 to $6,000 for both eyes. That was kind of like the normal rate. I always thought it was more for some reason, but I was pretty happy with the price. It may be different where you live or if you go to Colombia or get it in another country, but that was the list price. And I did get a slight discount actually, one because my dad knew the doctor, and the other thing was I told them I'd post it on social media, which I did. I just posted it on Instagram and they knocked off another $1,000. So for me, the total was $3,700. All right, so we talked about kind of the benefits of it and how it wasn't that bad, but let's talk about the cons for a sec, just so you kind of know both sides of it. So the cost, while it was less than I was expecting, it still is an investment. It's a large expense. The other thing, there are quite a few appointments before the procedure. So if you travel a lot like me, that can be tricky or kind of annoying. In total, I needed a first consultation appointment, a measurement appointment, then the actual procedure, an appointment the next day, and then one more a week later. Then they recommend you come back in for a 3-month appointment. So originally I was supposed to be back in North Carolina, but it didn't make any sense to be there kind of the month or going back and forth. Also, you cannot fly for the first 5 days after the procedure. Okay, just digging into pain and discomfort a little bit more. So in whole, there really was not that much pain or discomfort in the process, but there was some after the procedure. You are also, like I mentioned, gonna experience a glare in your first couple weeks. Like I said, mine has gotten a lot better, but for some people I've heard the glare is pretty bad and they can't drive at night for maybe like 5 to 10 days after the procedure. And I guess the last thing, safety in general. With any procedure, no matter how safe it is, there's always a chance something could happen. So that is something you have to weigh if you want to do this or not. All right, finally, would I recommend this and should you do it? The short answer for me was yes, absolutely. I'm glad I did it and I do recommend it. The fact that you can see immediately after the procedure, the pain is not bad, and the cost is reasonable, all kind of added up to me saying, yes, this is something I recommend for people and wish I would have done sooner. At the time of filming this, I'm about 3-4 weeks after the procedure, and I'd say my vision is pretty much perfect. Sometimes at the end of the day, if my eyes are tired, I just have to put my drops in, which is no big deal. But other than that, it's pretty much, I would say 97%. And I think pretty soon it'll be, back to 100%. So that's pretty much it, guys. If I missed anything, let me know, or drop any questions you have about LASIK or anything that you're wondering for your situation. Happy to answer every comment on this video, and hope you guys got something out of this. So without any further ado, hope to see you guys on the next one, and be great.